Hello, everyone. My name is Wayman Mathis. I'm the program chair of NSBE here at the UCR chapter. And today, I would like to welcome you to my very first episode of the Empowered podcast. I have a very brilliant guest here today that's going to give you some great advice on what you should expect here when you should come to UCR, whether you're a transfer or a new student. So take it away.
Yeah, all right. So my name is Victor Moreira. I am UCR's inaugural Black Student Success Coordinator. Been on campus professionally for a little over 11 years. Prior to my current position, I served as a senior level academic advisor. I'm also a proud alum of UC Riverside. Graduated here in 2007 with my BA in sociology. And fun fact, I'm one of the founders of our Black Alumni chapter um, as well. And I'm also from the IE, Rancho Cucamonga. So, I'm a hometown kid.
I see. So I see you have a lot of experience. So I know you're also work really closely with ASP, right? So do you think you can go in a little bit and explain what exactly you do here at UCR?
Yeah. So my position is housed within ASP, African Student Programs.
Hmm.
And what my position does is it ensures that from an academic standpoint, we're not falling through the cracks and the gaps, right?
Hmm.
So it's like shoring that up. We have a lot of great resources. We have a lot of great staff members and a lot of great protocols and systems in place, but there's still always going to be different cracks.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, Black scholars can potentially be more prone to fall through those cracks. And so a lot of the work that I do is kind of shoring all of that up. A lot of the work that I do is about putting out fires, right? Before it takes over the entire house, right?
Hmm.
But it's also about looking at our students who are doing well and making sure that they become great. And so not forgetting about them as well, right? And so it's a lot of that. It's a lot of life coaching, it's a lot of navigation. Um, as you know, as a student, if you aren't doing well academically, it could literally
Hmm.
be because of academic reasons, or it could be for non-academic reasons, like home life or something along those lines. So it's my job to kind of help you identify what those roadblocks are and figure
Hmm.
out how to overcome them, right? I can't tell you what to do, but I can help you understand what your options are. I can help you understand what resources you have, and I can help you figure out what factors should be considered, right? So that you can live with whatever decision that you make. So it's a lot of that type of work. It's a lot of looking at data and numbers, right?
Hmm.
That can help us properly figure out who we need to support. It can help us understand, right, who's actually on track to graduate on time and stuff along those lines too.
I get you, I get you, and I think that's really important because especially everyone's journey for their academic journey is always is very and always different. And specifically here at UCR, I'm sure it's the same for other UCs that your academic is really the thing that really depends on how many opportunities are you're presented with, right? There's many like research opportunities here or internships here that you can only get if you have like above a 3.0 GPA, or sometimes even a bit higher than that. So I think that's really great that you help out those students to be able to get those opportunities too, because there's a lot of doors that shut off really early if you don't if your academic if you're not really if your academic standing isn't really good.
Exactly. And
Hmm.
and things can spiral out of control really quickly.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. And we're at a point now to where, we can put out fires before, again, the house burns down. Right.
Hmm. I remember that was the one of the first things they told me at UCR is that don't mess it up on your first semester. I mean, my bad, your first quarter, because it's really hard to like bring it back if you don't have a really good start. So that's really important if you come here. Get a good start.
Yeah. But even that, right? So part of it too is if you fall, okay, we're gonna get back up, right? And so a big part, I'll add this, a big part of what I do is also speaking life into the scholars, right? Because
Hmm.
sometimes y'all could be hard on yourselves and you don't give yourself any mercy, but we work on that because you don't have to be perfect, right? And you can stumble, but it's okay. We can get back up.
That's right. That's right. Something that really resonated with me was I took a linear algebra class here. His name was Professor Lindsay, and I remember him telling me specifically that, hey, if you think you're struggling, everyone else is also struggling right here. And if you're not struggling, especially if it's for a really higher upper division class, then that means either you don't understand it or maybe you just like a prodigy, which is great. But it's really normal for other people to struggle. That was something I had to learn because so many cases, or I'm looking around the room and everyone's like around the notes or doing some big equations. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what's going on. But then I talked to them after class. So, oh yeah, I was just making stuff up as I went. I know it doesn't make sense. So uh, going back to you and your job at the afternoon student program, for you, what is some of the most rewarding aspects of your job, and at what point would you say that you would be successful or achieve success? One of the two.
Say that one more time.
What are some of the most rewarding aspects of your job here
Okay.
for ASP, and what determines if you're successful to you?
Ooh. Ooh. That's a good question. So what I love about this job is I get to see the fruits of my labor right away with y'all success, right?
Mhm.
So it's not a delayed sort of like, hopefully it works. Like I get to see it in real time, right? Like when y'all do well in an exam, when y'all graduate, like I see that right away, right? And so that part I love. And when I think about success, it's more than just graduating, right? To me, because
Mhm.
y'all gonna graduate. You're gonna graduate, you're gonna end up with a job somewhere. My thing is like, but are you doing what you want to do? And are you happy in the other areas of your life? So this job is funny where you get immediate gratification. Like when I see you pass a test or pass a class that you think you didn't, that you're gonna fail, or you graduate, like that's kind of the short term, right?
Mhm.
So I get to I use that as success, but I also look at the deep success. So it's Wayman, when you graduate 10 years later, you're telling me about you're passionate about what you're doing professionally. You have a family, right? You know what I mean? Like you're happy in your
Mhm.
personal life as well. That to me is success. And so, but that doesn't happen right away. So, right when I got to 5 years, 7 years into my time here at UCR,
Mhm.
some of the students that I had worked with before, enough time had passed for them to finish grad school, start families. And so, when they started coming back, right, which was like for me, 2017, 2018 ish, oh man, just got my PhD and, I just got married. Here's my son, here's my wife. That's was success, right? Yes, right.
Mhm.
I love to see it, right? So, for me, it's almost just like the short-term success and then also the deep long-term success, right? That's what I look at.
That was beautiful. That's really deep. And I think you have a really unique position because you are alumni. You've been here so long, right? So I wonder, what are some of the big changes you've seen here at UCR and your long time here, not just working here, but even as a student, even
Man, well, okay, number one, physically.
physically.
So when
Okay.
I was here, the hub, as you guys know it,
Mm-hmm.
they started building that my last year.
Oh,
So I didn't even, the hub that we knew got destroyed to build the hub that we have now that we didn't even see because by last year they were building it, right?
okay.
Um, for the longest time, I worked in a building that didn't exist when I was a student here. So like
Mhm.
physically, the campus is different, right? Literally.
Right. Right.
But more importantly, the staff and faculty are different. So there's a new generation of higher education professionals,
Mm-hmm.
right? That are now in place. So when I was in your position, there were academic advisors, but it wasn't what it is now. No shade to them, but it was more so of an administrative position. It was more so, hey, once a quarter, I got to stop by and see this lady. She gives me a piece of paper, but that was about it. I wasn't advising. Now,
Mm.
y'all have advisors that literally have master's degrees. Some of them are even working on their PhDs and their EDDs. They're trained in mental health. They're trained in the art of communication, right? You know what I mean? They're trained to kind of
Mm-hmm.
have certain conversations with you. I never would have thought to talk to my academic advisor if I had something going wrong with me, right? I feel more comfortable talking to my mechanic at Pep Boys before I did. But that's how it was, man. Like that's how it
Okay.
was back then. It was kind of like sink or swim, homie. You know what I mean? Like hopefully you get it. Maybe you have somebody to support you.
Mm-hmm.
But everything that we have now, all the programming, wellness, mental health, like bro, I went through my entire time at UCR, and I don't think I have ever put mental health in the same sentence.
That's it.
Even though we were struggling with it just like anybody else was, but we
Mm-hmm.
weren't even talking about it, let alone somebody on campus would be there to support us in that way.
Mm-hmm. That's actually really interesting. Speaking of mental health, I know nowadays it's everywhere, right? Whether it's in the news and like the Panford or the school promoting it. But what was it like before that, right? What were some tips that you had before, like all these resources were available, right? Because I know UCR, we have our own therapists, we have professors, like you say, your academic advisors. A lot of them, even I know this personally as well, or even have these degrees or a vast amount of experience prior experiencing these things. So what did you do?
You just struggled, and maybe you limped,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you made a full recovery, maybe you limped through, or you didn't, and you didn't graduate, and you didn't make it at UCR, right? Because you had these issues, your mental health wasn't right, but you had nobody to turn to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was like that, right? Maybe you were lucky enough to have a mentor or somebody in your corner that you could have turned to, but it was nothing institutional. There was no institutional agent, meaning a staff member, somebody that works for the university that was trained and positioned to help you in those ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, for me, I had just enough support from my friends and family, right? That when I was going through stuff, I kind of got the help, but it wasn't even direct help, homie. It was more so indirect,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? Like, but it was kind of luck, man.
I get you. I get you. I think hopefully a lot of people who are listening are going to resonate with something similar like that. I think most people have a similar story along those lines of struggling here at school. But I commend you for making it here thus far. And I can say personally, for all the conversation I had with you, you were one of the most nicest people I've ever met.
Thank you.
I know I can come to you about anything. That's why you were the first person I thought of. Like, oh, my man Victor, he's the first guy I want to bring onto this podcast because I want to let you know that everything you said, I think that personifies you and how you achieve this job. I will say.
And it's by design, man. Like, so I'm a
Mm-hmm.
nice guy, but it's also paying it back, homie.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, again, I was lucky to where I had just enough folks in my life that kind of were able to help me,
Mm-hmm.
but it shouldn't be about luck. I hate to say it, it shouldn't
It
be that way.
shouldn't. I agree.
So
Mm-hmm.
how I approach y'all, I look at y'all like how I would look at a nephew or a younger brother. Like that's kind of my approach because I feel like everybody should have that. Everybody should have that older brother or uncle who's been through what you're going through that can look out for you, right? And so that's the approach that I try to have when working with y'all because I'm definitely nice, but those who have been around me long enough know that I'll hold you accountable, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I have to get on you because you ain't moving correctly, that's what's gonna happen.
Sometimes we need that. We need that,
Mm-hmm.
that little like stern push. Like, hey, you do all you saying all this big talk, but you're not actually putting any work behind it. And I think that's really important. And I know specific a lot of students struggle with that. The saying, oh, I want to do something. I want to join this engineering organization. I want to join this fraternity. I want to do this internship or this research. But they don't necessarily, but actually, I should say that's where it ends. That's where it ends, right? They just say it, but then they never put in the work to do it. And I learned recently that wanting something, right, is a lot different than actually going and doing something. There's two
Doing it
different parts of your brain
exactly.
actually firing off, right? I saw this one TikTok on TikTok on YouTube. I saw this one TikTok where this guy's putting a dollar bill, $100 bill on the wall, and saying, "Hey, here's $100 bill. All you gotta do is grab it, and it's yours, right?" And the other guy was like, "Great," but he just stood there. And he asked, "Hey, why didn't you go grab it? It's right there. It's free. It's free pickings." So, well, I want to get it, but someday, and that really resonated with me a lot because it's like, there's this great thing or greatness that you can achieve that you have, but you just have to have the certain drive to get it. I
Bingo.
tell a lot of my family and foster kids about that a lot. I think that's really important for someone to actually go out and be and like improve themselves, be able to actually get up in the morning, say, I'm gonna do these things, and then put the action to it.
Yep, I
All
agree.
right. All right, so let's talk a bit more about you, specific about your degree.
Okay.
I know you have a background in sociology because
Mhm.
that's the degree you got here at UCR, right?
Correct.
And also a master's in counseling, right?
So my
So,
master's is in higher education
oh, okay.
with the focus on counseling.
Oh, okay, okay. I see, I see.
Mhm.
So, how does those disciplines like inform your approach to student success here at UCR?
That's
Has it been
everything,
helpful?
man.
Mm-hmm.
So as a social major, I learned about socioeconomics and I learned about socioeconomic mobility. This
Mm-hmm.
idea of I was born, let's say I was born poor, but I could die rich and wealthy, right? So you can move around socioeconomically. I was born lower income. Now I'm upper class or now I'm middle class, right? So I really learned about that. And I learned that education is the one of the bigger tools that allows for that, at least in America.
Mm-hmm.
So through education, somebody could be born in poverty and potentially change up their circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
And education is the best shot that we have. So unless you are a really good athlete or you become rich and famous, the reality is education is still the most reliable option if you want to get economic mobility, if you want to move above the circumstances you were born into, or even
Mm-hmm.
stay in the circumstances you were born into.
That's true. That's
Like,
true.
you know what I mean? Like, because,
Yeah.
it's harder and harder to stay in America's middle class, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding how powerful education was, I was able to kind of apply that to my own parents. My parents were born in Nigeria, right? I was born
Mm-hmm.
here, but my parents were born in Nigeria. They didn't come here with a lot. Now, I think they hyper exaggerate the story. Oh, we only came over here with $5 and, a pack
Yeah.
of gum, right? Like, you know what I mean? But they didn't
Yeah.
come here with a lot, right? But the lifestyle that I grew up was amazing. I don't hide that from people. I grew up damn near in your classic 80s, 90s, suburban Disney Channel. I literally grew up in that type of
Mm-hmm.
environment. And my parents were able to do that through education, right? They came here and went to college, right? And so when you understand that, then you start to understand why there is inequities and discrimination and certain things that happen to you within education,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I was able to see how even in my own family, how the system tried to pretty much screw us over. And if I didn't have parents who knew how to advocate, the system would have screwed us over.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I really started to understand the value of education. And so I knew I wanted to get into education because of the impact that it could have for people that look like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do it correctly. And what I realized too is that, man, we have a bad habit within the Black collective of thinking that, yo, once you make the college, you're going to be okay. So
Mm-hmm.
when you in college, oh, homie, your life is set. We ain't got to worry about you, which is not the case. You can make it to college. I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean and that's a great deal, but it doesn't mean that you solidified anything, right? Like you still have to know what to do when you get to college. You have to know how to navigate college in order for it to work for you. So in order for you to get the economic mobility, that college can provide for you, you have to know what to do when you get here.
Mm.
And so I told myself, I want to get into higher ed because I want to be part of the group that's going to help students, especially students that look like me, students who come from my same communities, that my same environments, not only can make it to college, but they're going to know what to do when they get here.
Mm.
Right.
Okay.
So that when
Mhm.
they leave here, it's more than just a piece of paper. They actually are in a position to actually benefit from college as it was intended to. So
Mhm.
that's kind of how, again, I ended up. And so I'm like, okay, I want to be in higher ed. I want to work in college. So that's why I went to the program I went to, focused on higher education, focused on counseling, because I knew I wanted to work with students directly one-on-one, especially academically.
Mhm. You know, I really resonate with what you just said. Uh, a couple months ago, you know, I got elected to be the program's chair, and that was one of the main things I said during my speech, right? It's very uncommon, unfortunately, to see a black engineer. And for those at home, I'm a electrical engineering major here at UCR, and I just finished my first year. And for me, it was a great first year. There was a lot of good stuff that happened that hopefully that I can tell you about in the future. But back on topic though, yeah, I can't remember the statistics because I don't have my notes or like the my presentation up, but I remember reading something along the lines that less than like 10% of all like African Americans who attempt an engineering degree actually manage to get one, right?
Definitely.
And that kind of resonated with me because I looked it up online, and there's like a couple of 100,000 engineers, right? 5% of that, that's like 1 or 2 thousand, right? And something that I really wanted to change when I went to NSBE, right, was it's great that we're getting the degrees and getting the information, right? But I wanted the people, our members, to actually be able to do something with that knowledge, right? Because you can have a degree in like neuroscience or like a degree in electrical engineering, but if you can't do any work, no one's gonna want to hire you. You know what I mean? So I really wanted to get people that experience in the lab, in the research. So that's one of the main things that I'm going to be starting to do here at UCR this next coming year. One of my first projects actually is a simple Arduino board. It's nice and easy, but the idea here is that you can take the knowledge from something simple as like like a breadboard, a little bit of electronics, and then you can apply it to something else more advanced than that. You know, I really want people to because like I said before, to start and like start apply the knowledge to other things. And I really resonate with that. I don't know, and I see why now why I really wanted to work with you this year. I think we're gonna do some great things.
I think so too.
All right. So I know also I remember we had a conversation about this that you write books, specifically self-help books, right?
Yeah.
Could you like
So
elaborate about that a little bit?
yeah. So I'm fortunate that I'm able to work with college students, especially college students that come from historically underserved, marginalized communities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been fortunate enough to work with hundreds, if not thousands, of students over the course of my career, even before I even started working at UCR. So pretty much over, I don't want to date myself, but we pushing 20 years, right, of working with college students, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's so many different lessons and so many different tips and strategies that I've given that I'm like, you know what? I want to have an even bigger reach, right? Because I can't meet with every student, right? I work at one college, but there are how many colleges in California and America? So part of me was just like, man, I want to share some of my knowledge and some of my wisdom with a wider audience. Um, so I'm in a process of really putting all of that into different books, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have about two already. I don't have them for sale currently because I'm refining them, and I'm trying to figure out more of the business end of it, like how I want to kind of do it.
Mm-hmm.
But the book that I'm working on now, I'm really hoping to have this one done by the time we roll into next year. And that one is about finding your professional purpose,
Mm,
right? I'm really excited about this one in particularly because it gives, like, when students know their purpose professionally, there's a motivation, there's a focus, there's a sense of direction that influences everything that they do, right? I spend a lot of time observing and watching students that are doing well academically, but also professionally. They're doing research, they're doing internships, and it's because they have a professional purpose, right?
mhm.
That there's a goal that they're trying to get to. And so in this book, it's really getting into why it's important to have one, and how you go about getting it, right? So it's really more so a how-to book, right? A how to identify what your professional purpose is. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, especially for like new like freshmen or transfer students, I know a lot of them are probably still kind of like in the air about what they want to do exactly, or what specific part of their field they want to even enter. Because I know from my own experience, electrical engineering is really broad, right?
Mhm.
You can do robotics, you can do electronics, you can do lights, you can do lasers, you can do optics, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on, right? So how do you generally get started with finding your own your preferred profession, right? Do you have any advice or?
So yeah, but and you kind of just nailed it on the head, right? You just talked about there's so many different applications for electrical engineering majors.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you make a choice? Are you going to randomly close your eyes and just, you know what I mean, spin the wheel, like do 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 do, now I'm gonna do this, right? Like that seems a bit weird, but it also feels a bit dangerous,
Mm-hmm.
right? You know what I mean? Because it's kind of a big deal what you're gonna do with yourself professionally. You know what I mean? Like, but if you know your purpose, that may help kind of figure stuff out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm, I know I want to get into robotics because I want to help society do this, or I want to
Mm.
help this community do you know what I mean? Like it's
I get what
very
you're saying.
different.
Yeah.
Um, as far as tips, right, that I will share, I would say it kind of first starts with seeing it for yourself. So I would say find somebody who is very passionate about what they do. It's more than just making money, right? Because there's a lot of people who hate what they do who make a lot of money, right?
Right.
Find somebody who's almost just like annoyingly passionate about what they do, right? And ask yourself, how did they get that? And you will find that it's because they're doing something that aligns with their professional purpose,
Mm.
right? Like they have this professional happiness that we all want, where it's more than just a paycheck. It's more than just you make a lot of money, but I hate what I do. You have a connection to what you do, right? It's because they have a purpose. So I would encourage folks to see it for their own two eyes, because that's what I did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would encourage them, hey, find somebody who is really in love with what they do, right? And ask them and try to understand why. And you'll realize that, oh, wait a minute, it's more than just the money. Money is important, especially if you want to live in California, right? But I'll be the first. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? You want to make a lot of money, but um, you know, it's more to that though.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain levels of success that I've seen where it's just like, yeah, if you're just doing it for the money, you don't have what it takes. You ain't gonna have the motivation to get there, to even get to the point where you're getting that type of money. But if you have a
Mm-hmm.
purpose and you're chasing your purpose, oh, you'll get there. So I would encourage folks to kind of start with kind of seeing it for their own two eyes, just like how I did. In the book, I talk about my own experiences because I wasn't born with this knowledge. I saw it with my own two eyes.
Mm-hmm. I see. I see. And when I started my academic journey, I know I told you, I actually started off as a music major, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had that kind of connect with that a little bit because when I first started with music, right, that's what I was passionate about at the time. I guess I still am, but not in the same way, right? I want to ever since I was like a young kid, right? I was like, I want to be a professional jazz saxophonist, right? That's what I want to do. And then, I was able to actually accomplish that, right? But something that I didn't like about that, the reason why I felt lost was COVID happened. And that's when I got my associate's degree in jazz performance, right? But and then I couldn't find any jobs, right? Because everything was closed around. And for me specifically, I didn't want in music, right? And some people might disagree with me on this, but this is my take, right? In music, you only really do one of three things, right? You're gonna perform, you're gonna write or make music, or you're gonna teach music, right? There's one of those three things, and every job up is a facet of one of those three things, right? I didn't want to teach. I saw most people make their money in music. They teach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted to perform my music, right? I didn't want to write and then sell my music for other people to play. I wanted to play my own music, right? That's what I wanted to do. And when everything was closing down, I was like, okay, and there's no, I'm like, money. I'm becoming a starving musician. I can't afford my car payments. That was around the time where I first moved out my parents' house, right? So I can barely afford rent. So then I went back to school, right? I went to Mount St. Jacinto college, right? Mount St. Jacinto Community College
Yep.
specifically, right? And then I met this dude, right? He was electrical engineering professor at a MSJC, right? And what you described about finding someone for that passion was the thing that kind of made me go on this path in engineering, right? And I bet you want what was a music major going for going talking with an electrical engineer? Well, I was taking a physics class because I saw a bunch of YouTube videos about cool electrical engineers, and I said I might want to try that. But his name was Professor Capiteo,
Okay.
and I loved his teaching style so much, and I loved his enthusiasm for the subject. Like, and that it kind of like it like brushed off on me, right? And I loved it. I got really enthusiastic about things that I've never been enthusiastic about before. Like back in high school, you do a math problem on my face. I was like, ew, get that away from me, it black, right? And I was until and I would and I didn't really have that passion. I think for me, the reason why, but because of that, is because I need to see a reason or a purpose behind something before I like commit myself to it. So, and most of the math you do through your K through 12, right? While it does have further meaning, but at that point, it's just a bunch of numbers on a page, and it's really hard to like, what's the purpose for this? What's the purpose for this? And he taught me that math or really physics or any like subdivision of that is like a toolbox, right? Like if you're building like a shed in your backyard, right? You don't always need a wrench, a saw, a drill, or you need them at specific times.
Yep.
That's kind of what like math is. Math is here. You need a specific time, but once you pull out that saw or that drill or whatever, that screwdriver, you better know how to use it because then what else you're gonna do, right? And it make your
Exactly.
life a lot easier. It make your life a lot easier. I mean, it's a lot easier to screw in a nail with a screwdriver than it is with a saw, right? And he was the reason why I I decided to become an electrical engineer, right? He was my person. I always say, and I hope that everyone here listening can also find that one person to kind of push into that direction of whatever major degree or experience that they want to have, right? I think that's really important. So, with all that said, I want to ask you this: did you ever have that similar person that gave you that drive or gave you that passion for what you do now or led you into this direction?
Yes, not directly, but indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
So my uncle Godwin is an architect,
Mm-hmm.
and architects outside of like athletes and entertainers are probably part of the coolest people you ever meet because they're very design oriented. So all of his homes were always wonderful, interesting, because you're an architect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not only is he an architect, but he's also a builder, so he can design something and build it out himself, right? So
Mm-hmm.
all of his homes were just always crazy. Always had the cool cars. Always, just lived a certain life. Again, architects are special people, and he loved what he did so much. And I saw him run his own firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he still has the firm. And, let's just say, there's a lot of schools and locations that I drive by daily that his firm built. He secured
Mm-hmm.
the contracts, so like I see it every day. So his legacy will literally be around me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and seeing his passion, right? Seeing that he really loves this, and when you love something, you become one of the best at what you do. You become a leader at what you do. And when you are very good at what you do, and like I said, people look at you as a leader. So other people who do your same job look to
Mm-hmm.
you to kind of figure out, hey, how do we do this? The people who benefit from your services prefer to come to you, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you become very powerful and influential. And so I knew I wanted that. So the same way his peers look at him, the same way clients refer to him, I wanted that for myself, but just in a different capacity. So, obviously I didn't become an architect because as cool as I thought it was, I don't have a design mind for it. I enjoy it. I think it's beautiful. I just don't have the intellectual toolkit for that. But I did understand the benefits at being really good at what you do, being one of the best at what you do, right? And how you can leverage that into success, right? And so I would say he was definitely and still is one of my motivators because he's kind of like semi-retired. He's still in the game, but not to a certain extent. But
Mm-hmm.
he was definitely very influential, and still is.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. Well, I'm glad you're able to have that person. Like I said, I hope everyone's able to find a similar person, whether it's in their own personal life or here at UCR, right? I think that's
Yeah.
really important to I don't know. Hopefully this relates to what you said about finding professional passion, but hopefully that's kind of correlates
Yeah,
to
because
that.
you see people, because that's why I said the best way is to see people who are living it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm living it, right? Dr. Jamal Myrick, the director of ASP, for those who don't know who Dr. J is, he's living it, right? Like this
Mm-hmm.
living proof of, because I'm not going to say anything that I don't believe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a different type of success that you have when you are doing something that aligns with your professional purpose, for sure.
Get you. Okay. Well, all that said, how about we pivot the conversation and talk about more so about you guys and more and the new students or transfer that might be coming here.
Pulling up.
So, have you had any advice to give to any to give to any of our viewers, whether they're transfer or new students coming straight from high school, right? What were some of the things you would say to them, right?
I have a lot, but I will say the one that kind of comes up in my mind first is don't be afraid to let people, places, and things go in
Mm-hmm.
order to make room for what's in front of you. Everybody can't come with you on your journey. Stuff that you like to do, unfortunately, may not be able to follow you on this new journey, and that's okay, right? Sometimes we got to leave stuff behind, and it's not about forgetting where you're from. It's just about making room for new experiences, right? I see a lot of folks stunt their growth because they didn't want to change up their circle, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's one thing if your circle was growing and evolving with you, but they had circles that were stagnant, right? And so what ends up happening is you don't encourage them to come up with you. They more so anchor you down and you don't grow as much as you should. right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say don't be afraid to kind of let folks go, right? Or renegotiate those sort of relationships to make room for where you are now, right? You're around other people. When you come on campus, you're gonna be around folks who are moving just like how you're moving, who can share in your reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't take that for granted, right? Because you could have people that you care about, people that love you, but it doesn't mean that you're moving in the same direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some people move apart, but some people move apart because certain groups are stagnant, right? So don't be afraid to let folks go. I'd also say make sure that you sit the people down around you and let them know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times they'll still have certain expectations of your availability of your time. And it's not the same as high school. It's not the same as being at a community college. Sorry, I can't babysit this weekend. Sorry, I can't come over Thursday nights like I used to. Right? You have to really let people know your new reality. And you're going to have to be okay with folks being upset with you
Mm-hmm.
because you're not available and you're taking more control of your time. You're going to have to be okay with family, friends, parents. You're going to have to be okay with people being frustrated with you. You have to be very protective of your time.
Mm-hmm.
In order for you to be the type of family person you want to be, like to be this sort of selfless person, you have to be selfish in this period of your time so that you can get to where you need to get, right? You want to help
Mm-hmm.
your family out financially? You want to help your family do this and that down the road? Then tell them no now so you can do it for them later on, so that you can invest the time and energy that you have to invest when you get here to do well.
Mm-hmm. I
So I
get
got
you.
a lot more, but I'll cut it right there.
Go out there. Okay, okay. Well, I kind of want to talk more about that, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
you know, for me, I think that's really important, and that's something that I had to learn here really quick when I came to UCR, right? Especially in the last like 3 to 4 months, right? I told you this, but once I got this position, I got a lot of people asking me to do things for them and do things with them.
Mm-hmm.
And before I was the type of guy to say, "Oh, say no more. I'm there. I love to work with you, help you out." And I still have a really hard time with saying no to all these things, right? And how would you go about doing that, especially depending on the context, right? It can be really difficult because whether it's not school related, whether it's like a family or like a job or like maybe every Saturday night for the past 6 years, me and my best friends we play D&D at my buddy's basement, right? It could be a really connect like personal experience, right? And I know we also said that don't that while at your time here don't I think you know what, now that I think about it, I think it's a balance, right? Being able to balance that out. I was going to ask how do you I was going to ask how do you determine which ones should you be like, oh, okay, I need to kick this out because I need time for this. How do you determine, okay, well, yeah, I need time for this, but also need time for myself, right? I met this dude. I met this dude on my orientation. Uh he was like the guide showing me around campus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember his name, but he was an incredible individual. He was maybe you know him. He was an African American. He was like a double major in chemistry
Mm-hmm.
and neuroscience. And crazy dude. I was like, you're insane. How do you do that? How do you do that, right? And and time management, big thing, obviously. But my biggest question for him was when do you have time for yourself? And he said, and he told me with a straight face that I make time where I need where I have it. And his main stress reliever was volleyball. And
Uh-huh.
I asked him, "Did you play for like as a team or competitively here?" He said, "No, I just play for fun, and I don't want to be competitive because that's like my thing.
Right.
I don't want to have this idea of like, oh, I have to win or I have to do this for my team or for my school. I just want to play just to just get for that stress reliever." So for you and with your background like counseling and higher education sociology, how do you best determine what should you balance out? What should stay and then what should go? Or who should stay and who should go? I think that second question is a little bit answered, but what would you
Yeah. So I mean, you only have 24 hours in a day.
Sir.
7 days a week. And so you're gonna have to make a list. What's important to you, right? And
Hmm.
then look at the priorities. And it's like going to a buffet, right? Even if you want to jam pack your plate with food, some food ain't gonna make it on your plate. You know what I mean? Like, so you're gonna prioritize the chicken or the pork. You know what I mean? The
Mac and
noodles
cheese,
or the
all the good
rice.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's kind of twofold, right? Where you
Hmm.
look at what's critical, what's important. You know, usually it's yourself, your health, your wellness, your family. Like there's some non-negotiables, and everything else kind of fits in around that. And again, and it's not easy letting people go. It's not easy. Lord knows I've had to do it. I've had to
Hmm.
let people go who've done nothing wrong, right? But it's just like, damn, with everything that I have going on, I don't have the time for this. I'm sure that I've had friends who have let me go. We don't talk as much. And it's not because I stopped talking, but like, hey, they had to, and
Definitely
there's
have
no
stuff.
hard feelings. Literally, there's no hard feelings. I'm like, hey, man, I get it. You know, there's only 24 hours in a day. There's
Hmm.
only so much that you could do, and you have your criticals, right? Your non-negotiables that you have to pay attention to. You know, yourself, your health, your family. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
you know, if you're in a relationship, the relationship. So
Hmm.
certain things, certain people aren't going to be part of it, right? I think people struggle because they believe that they have to do it all. They believe
Hmm.
that they have to make time for everybody. But once you understand that I'm going to have to let things go, the time management, energy management type thing becomes a whole lot more doable. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I get what you're saying. I think
Mhm.
that's really important. Okay. So with that said, for more going back to like the viewers and like the transfers and new students, what would you say are some important tips or some good tips you can give them to make the most out of the university experience here at UCR from day one, the moment they set here
Ooh,
and start going to their
easy,
classes?
easy one.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, so they're gonna have their rough moments,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the speed of it all, right? We're a quarter-based school, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Most folks are coming from the semester-based system where you had like 15 weeks, 16 weeks. Here it's only 10 weeks. Our normal quarter feels like a expedited term, right? Literally,
Gotcha.
you have some campuses that will have the quick expedited winter term, which is 10 weeks. It's going to be fast paced. Be
Mhm.
careful. That's our normal quarter. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
what's quick, like, I don't know, right, is our normal. Oh, yeah, that's par for the course. So you are going to kind of get hit with that punch early,
Mm-hmm.
right? But you will be okay, right? Unless your parents are millionaires and they low key pay for your way to get in, you got into UCR as a freshman or a transfer while other people did not, meaning we aren't assuming that you can do the work. We believe you could do the work because we're not in the business of doing favors for anybody, right? So remember that, right? Like you have the ability to do well and give yourself grace and mercy. It is going to take you a quarter to get adjusted to a new way of life, the quicker pace. But again, you already have the ability. I don't question, anytime I'm working with the student,
Mm-hmm.
I don't question people's abilities at all. I think you guys have already proven you can do it, right? We didn't
Mm-hmm.
let you into UCR on good faith. We let you in on some like, oh no, Wayman proved that he's capable of doing the work. It's just a matter of giving yourself mercy, um, and again, understanding that it is going to be an adjustment.
I get you. Okay. So yeah, we I know we mentioned a couple, but just to make sure we have everything that maybe that you might want to mention,
Mhm,
what are some do you know any more challenges that new students I need to be prepared to face? I know we talked about the quarter system, and that's really important
mhm,
because I had classes here that we have midterms on week 3, right?
mhm,
And it goes by fast, right? And the lectures are sometimes not to say that they're long, but they can be draining about in the amount of content that you have to consume, right? And then also the studying that you have to do once you to get that content in here. So do you have any more do you know any more challenges that students might face when they come here on their first day or in the future?
being afraid to ask for help.
Mm.
So if you think about it, if you walk on a college campus, it's the academic all-star team.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody here was the smartest at their high school. Everybody here was one of the smartest at the community college. You're used to being the one that gives help. When people need help, they come ask me, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
ask for help. I give help. You know what I mean? Like, who you think I am?
Sir.
But they come here and almost like asking for help is like a sign of defeat. Oh, it's embarrassing. I'm supposed to be the one that, but at this level, it is a sign of strength. Being able to know that I need help in this area and I'm not ashamed to ask for it is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. It's the opposite. It's a
Mm-hmm.
sign of weakness if you feel like you can't ask for help because that's your ego. Your ego is literally saying, I'm too embarrassed to ask for help. I'm better than this, right? Versus somebody who's just like, I'm not, right? I know I can do it. I just need help, right? Asking for help is not an indictment on your ability. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Wayman asked for help, so this means that he's not smart. No, it doesn't mean that, right? But there's this belief that, oh, they're going to question my intelligence. They're going to question if I should be here because I'm asking for help. No, not at all, right? So don't be afraid to ask for help.
I think that's really important too. And I hope that everyone here was listening to that. Asking for help is really important. And sometimes, even from my own personal experience, asking for help can help you get a better relationship with your professor.
Yeah.
And that can potentially lead to internships and opportunities because they know that, oh, hey, this student's here is coming into my office hours to ask for help. And I can tell they have a really strong knowledge in the subject matter because I'm helping them know it, right? So
Yeah.
when they have their own job postings, they might be like, "Hey, I want you to apply for this because I think you might be a good student for this," and that's really important here too.
Yeah.
Because
No,
I
that's
know we also
facts.
and I know we also mentioned too how important academics is here at UCR. A lot of doors are closed quick if you fall behind early, right? A lot of doors are closed quick, and yeah, they can be opened again, right? Let's say you got like a D for your first quarter, and then but you do all the other stuff, but you can't. It's going to be really hard to get above that 2.8, right, or that 2.5 GPA, and I think it's really important to be able to break down that ego barrier. And even I think I even have trouble with this and be like, I need help. I don't know what I'm doing, or I need support in whatever subject. I think, and I hope that you guys really take that to heart and wherever you go. Okay. Well, let's talk about ASP a little bit. I meant to talk about them earlier, but we were having such a good conversation. Let's talk about ASP, the African Student Program.
Yep.
If you don't know, right? So how can new students get involved with ASP, right? What benefits and what services do they offer, and how can they get started?
Yeah, so I'll start here. The name can be misleading. People hear programs and they think that it's something that they have to sign up for and be part of. Oh, I'm not part of ASP, like it's a program. So therefore, I can't come in or utilize their services. African Student Programs is a resource center. We're not a program. We're an actual resource center. We are a physical location,
Mhm.
right? In Costo Hall, right between the hub and the student services building where financial aid is. So if you know where the financial aid office is, if you know where Panda Express is at the hub, then you know where ASP is. We are literally right in the middle of those two buildings. Again, we are a resource center where folks can physically come in and utilize the different services and the different opportunities and programs we have, right? So if you need a quiet place to study, somewhere to eat, somewhere to chill with your friends, maybe there's a study group and you're looking for a location, you need to print something, you can do all that at ASP. You need a snack, come to ASP, right? We host different events. So we might have a guest speaker, different programs um, that folks can kind of partake in, especially when we host them inside of ASP.
Mm.
All of the pro staff, our offices are located at ASP. So if you need to meet with me, because we got to talk about academics or whatever, you have to physically come into ASP to meet with me or through Zoom. If you want to meet with the director, if you want to meet with the assistant director, our program coordinator, we are all physically located in African student programs as well. Now, there are different activities and programs that you have to sign up for if you want to do it. So for example, we have our mentorship program that folks can sign up for, right? But that's not the same as, oh, I have to sign up to be part of ASP. Nobody has to sign up to be part of ASP, right? Anybody can just walk in, and with us, our goal is to support you holistically, right? Meaning that we want to make sure that you are being supported academically, professionally, socially, culturally, and in terms of your own personal wellness. So we care about you 360. So all of the programs that we do, all of the support that we have, all of the guest speakers and workshops, everything that we do by design has to support you in one or more of those areas.
Get you. I know I'll be there, and I hope I see y'all there too, right? I will say when I first went ASP and after that, right, something that I really liked about it was I'm a full-time student here at UCR, and very often when I was there, I'd be there from like 8 a.m. in the morning to like 6 p.m. at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't live on campus. I live 30 minutes away, sometimes an hour depending on traffic, right? So I can't just go home and just be like, oh, I got 2 hours before my next class. I'm gonna go home and take a nap or do so. So something that I really liked from my personal experience about the ASP is that I got 2 hours to kill. I was able to go in there, either do some studying, make some friends, or maybe there was an event going on when I was there. I remember there was I can't remember her name, but there was like a real estate agent there talking about financial literacy, right? And the snacks and the people great. The community that the ASP has built is really strong, and I don't think I see that anywhere else here at UCR. And maybe I'm biased because that's the only community I really involve myself in, right? But like I think we're really unique in that, and I hope I see y'all there too, because I know I'm gonna be there, right? So continue talking about ASP. Well, and this can be about you too.
Okay.
Um, what are some long-term goals for ASP or the Black Student Success Program? What are some long-term
Yeah.
goals?
So long-term goal is number one, get more students to come in the space,
Mm-hmm.
right? One of the parts that sucks the most is that spring quarter, we always get a graduating senior that comes in and is just like, oh man, I never come in before. I wish I would have did more. Like we hate to hear those stories because you
Mm-hmm.
think about all of the amazing experiences that you didn't get, all of
Mm-hmm.
the amazing friendships that you weren't able to make. Again, I'm a product of UCR. I
Mm-hmm.
have friends that are married to people they met here. Think about that. They have
Mm-hmm.
children, right? And I'm older, right? So they got children that are in high school. They got children that are ready to go to college themselves that met here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they come in and it's just like, damn, I wish I would have started coming in a whole lot more. So we are definitely trying to get more students to come in through the door. Unfortunately, there's a lot of stereotypes about Black spaces. Oh, well, I'm not into this, I'm not into that. So I don't know if I'm gonna fit in. And it's just like you didn't even give it a chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people make a lot of assumptions. We don't do the whole, oh, well, if you're not interested in this music, if you don't dress a certain way, or if you don't talk a certain way, then you're not welcome here. Like we don't do that here. Blackness is more than just one style, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
come in, you'll literally see flags from all types of countries throughout the world that have Black populations, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we have people that kind of have preconceived notions of what we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're trying to do everything in our power to undo all of that and really get more scholars to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're trying to offer more programming, right? It gets tough because so many of our student orgs like NSBE, y'all do so much as well, but
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to do more programming as well. And when we do programming, we like to incorporate other Black staff and faculty on campus so that you guys can meet, because you guys meet us, but there's other Black folks that work on campus that want to support. So we're trying to do more, we're trying to create more opportunities for them to kind of connect with you guys, Same thing with our Black graduate students. We have Black graduate students on campus. We have over 150,
Yeah.
and they want to connect. So we're trying to do more to bring them into the going back to faculty. This past spring quarter, Dr. Amiri Manzili, he's a faculty member for the Department of Ethnic Studies. Every other week in this past spring quarter, he was coming in and we were doing like roundtable conversations, hacked out, right? We want to do more stuff like that. Our Sankofa mentorship program, we're trying to expand that and get more students to come through, right? So there's so much that we're trying to do to expand and to grow.
And to grow, and I would say that ASP has come a long way. I think you guys do great work, not even just from my own personal experience. I think all of those things and stereotypes that people bring on that's not true. I never seen any of that, right? Every
Exactly.
time I go there, it's very open arms, very holistic and friendly. It's a really good community. And I do agree that there's a lot of opportunities that are given or offered there that you just have to go and just show up and take it, right? And it's a great place to learn. It's a great place to learn about a lot of things. So it really hope that you guys make time to come and visit, right? And what impact? I know we talked a little bit about it, but what impact do you
Mhm.
think ASP has on the UCR community, or specifically the UCR Black community?
We're the heartbeat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, there's a lot that you guys see as scholars, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by design, we are the gatekeepers, but not in a bad way. More so, everything kind of flows through us. We're almost like central command,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, if the campus wants to get connected with Black scholars and figure out what's going on, if they're smart, they're going to come through ASP to get our help, right? So, for example, there's been a couple of departments that we've collaborated with to help them out, right? We do work with CHAS. CHAS has the most Black students on campus. So we have ongoing collaborations because they're trying to make sure that they're serving their students and their Black students. They know that, man, we need to collaborate ASP so that they can help us. We've
Mm-hmm.
done stuff with the School of Education. You know what I mean? For another example, because they want to make sure that they're serving their Black students correctly. We've done stuff with the Academic Resource Center. We have a summer bridge program um, that is a partnership with the ARC, Academic Resource Center, to support Black scholars,
Mm-hmm.
right? So behind the scenes, let's just say we're in a lot of meetings. And as far as you guys are concerned, we have a pulse on the community, right? We know what's going on, right? The community needs to be shepherded, right? And so we are the shepherds of the Black experience at UC Riverside, right? We are responsible for, obviously we can't control what people do, but it's
Mm-hmm.
our job to kind of try to keep things in the right direction. Not to get too nerdy on you, but I don't know if you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings
Oh, yeah.
story. And you have Gandalf, who's the wizard,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's his job to ensure that people who are acting independently still move in a certain direction, right? And in a lot of ways, we're kind of like that too, right? Where we want to try our best to make sure that people are moving in a certain way, right? Because a lot of groups have autonomy. Right? We can't control what people do. We can't control what y'all do. Um, but we can advise, we can help, we can support, we can consult, we can partner, we can collaborate, we can hold people accountable when we need to, we can drop the hammer when we need to ensure that the entire community is okay, right? Number one,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's moving in the right direction.
I see. That's great. That's amazing. Doing what's best for the community, I see, right? So I
Unapologetically, by the way, let me add that, unapologetically, right?
unapologetically.
Because we're also not afraid to, have rough conversations, right? Unfortunately, you have occasions in which individuals may not be doing right by the Black community indirectly or directly, We're
Mm-hmm.
also here to drop that hammer as well, right? So if you have a problem, Wayman, or anybody else, any other scholar, it's not a you have a problem, it's we have a problem. What are we gonna do to, get out of this?
Mm-hmm. I really appreciate that. And I think I really like love that support system, right? Because I know a lot of people, especially for people coming on and as an African American, right? They kind of feel like they're alone in this, right? That oh shoot, there's not a lot of people that look like me that go to college or come to UCR, right? Or that will say that UCR is one of the most diverse colleges campus I've ever been at. But I think that support system is really important. And I love that you guys are there for us, right? In everything we do. While I won't get into specifics, I do know a couple occasions where we needed that unapologetic help, that the little bit of that rough edge, you know. So with the podcast coming to a close, so we're getting near the time mark here. Is there any final thoughts or any final advice you want to share with those who are coming here to UCR as transfers or new students, specifically those that are part of the Black community?
Get plugged in.
Mm-hmm.
Get plugged in. I think sometimes, how can I put this? I think there's this belief that in order to be part of the Black community, you have to leave whatever community you're coming from. And that's not the case. You're expanding it. I love when I see some of our scholars interact with different groups, but also interact with ASP. Our
Mm-hmm.
space is open. We don't care who your friends are. As long as they're respectful to the space, your friends are more than welcome. So you can come in and you can see students of scholars of different races
Mm-hmm.
in here studying, fellowshipping, having a good time, right? You can expand your community, but there's no reason to why, if you come to UCR, you would leave UCR without being connected to people that you are going to need socially. You are going to need them professionally. You are going to need them academically, right? Get tapped in. Again, no one is saying that you have to be here every day. You have to drop your current group, the people that you were friends with or hang out with. We're just telling you to expand your circle and include ASP in that expansion. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot that we can do for you by design that no one else can do for you on campus. Like, you know what I mean? And if you want to know what I mean by that, you're gonna have to come in and find that out.
Word, word. All right. So are there any ASP programs, event or activities that you're
Oh, good
pretend that
question.
oh,
So
okay.
we're in the summer months,
Yes.
so but we are doing different ice cream socials.
Mm-hmm.
Just so if people are around, come through and connect. We are open during the summer months, right? So if folks wanted to pop in and visit us, stop by, you can do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I encourage folks to follow us on Instagram. That is the best way to stay tapped in, because everything we do, we put on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
because it has the biggest reach. And our handle is very easy. It's literally ASPUCR. That's literally it. ASPUCR. All of our flyers for upcoming events, upcoming opportunities, we put it on there. So again, we're not closed during the summer. Pull up on us. And when you get here in the fall, right? Or even if you're a
Mm-hmm.
returning student, if you're not around in the summer, when you come back in the fall, it's going to be cracking in the fall. We're literally, it's July.
Mm-hmm.
I can promise you, we're already doing planning for the start of the next school year.
You are. I can confirm that you are.
Yes,
So a lot of
confirmed,
planning, a lot
confirmed.
big things are coming. Like you can tell just from
Confirmed.
us, big things are coming. So be ready.
I'm telling you right now, I don't want to be messy, but some of the things that we have, like there's an event that we want to do in the fall that's going to be, I'm telling you right now, it's gonna be a game changer. I promise you right now. But like we already cooking right now. We're already cooking. It's not ready yet, but we cooking right now.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. Okay, last thing, um, if the people listening ever wanted to contact you or talk to you, whether it's by email or in person, Do you know where can they do how do they do that, right?
Yeah, so they can the best way to get a hold of me is to email me
Mm-hmm.
at Victor period Moreira at UCR.edu. Or you could just go to ASP's website, asp.ucr.edu, and then you can navigate um, our contact page to find my email. But literally, the best way to get a hold of me is to email me. I respond pretty quickly. Wayman, you can confirm that.
Oh yeah.
Oftentimes, I'm waiting to hear back from you. Like, so I'm waiting on you. You're not waiting on me, right? That's kind of like how I like to do business, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's the best way to get a hold of me. Email.
And word, understood. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. We had a really great conversation. We talked about a bunch of different other things, and I hope that the people listening to this can kind of like take that in and internalize that because you talk about a lot of different important things, and hopefully that kind of empowers them to do more greater things, right? A bit of a show plug. Um,
Exactly, exactly. I love it. I love it.
so thanks again, and I can't wait to have you back someday.
Hey, I'm consider me to be a supporter, guest, whatever you need. I'm here.
All right. Well, thank you all for either listening or watching. I see you
Peace.
guys whenever I do the next one.